Joey, one of the things I want to talk about today is this book that I just got done reading, which is Call Sign Chaos, written by Jim Mattis. Now, for those of you who don't know, I guess former General Jim Mattis, he was the four-star general in the United States Marine Corps. And he was, and I want to say this is what he was the commandant of the Marine Corps during the Iraqi invasion, and
Yeah.
also, and I'm fairly confident it was Iraq, but I'm not sure if it went into Afghanistan or not. But and then later he was appointed 26th Secretary of Defense 2017 under Trump. Well, Jim Mattis is not a he is an academic, I think, among all things, and that's a great way to kind of paint the perfect picture of him. One of the things I learned about a lot when I was reading this book is how early on he was very much involved with reading, and I came across this quote in the book as well that he basically said, "Well, as a leader, if you don't read, you can't lead," which I thought was really interesting. As we're talking about sports and leadership, it's funny sometimes you talk to high school student athletes and you talk about the importance of reading, and that may be the last thing on their minds. But the truth be told, the best leadership lessons out there are in the text, in my opinion. I've read a number of these leadership books over the years and watched a ton of content online. It really always seems to come down to reading. And there was to one point where I think even Jim Mattis even mentioned that he had a reading list for his young officers or subordinate officers, his direct reports, that they had to complete. And I think this was based on, once you reach a certain rank, he would provide you with a reading list. So they would have to complete those books and then they'd talk about them. So reading was a very big part of him. I'm actually going to share this picture because I don't know if you've seen it or not, but this is a picture of Jim Mattis's library. Take a look at that.
Holy shit. I wasn't
Now,
expecting
isn't this
that.
insane?
Yeah, I was expecting like him to be standing in front of like two buildings and like kind of with his arms crossed. That is wild.
I want
That's
you to, it's first of all, and again, I don't know, this is just finding this off online, and I want you to notice he has this ladder on the right hand side, but it
it's
is
full of
filled with
books.
books. So I don't know how he's going to get in these top volumes up here, but he just has some light reading that he's accumulated over the years. I want to say it's like he's read over like 70,000 books or something like that. He's written a handful of his own, and yeah, just a prolific reader, just is consuming knowledge all the time. A big proponent that any type of battle, any type of theater that he gets involved in, he's picking up the text and he's reading everything from Alexander the Great to Napoleon and all these different things. So he's going into every single battle sphere with just a wealth of knowledge of what's been written out there, so that he can just consume as much as he possibly can. Just that is just incredible. And I feel like I've seen this a few times, but every time I see this, it just absolutely just blows me away. So I wanted to just dive into a few things. Let me close this down. 1 second. All right. So what I wanted to do is what I like to do is I like to go through these books and highlight and just some of the important things, the things that really stood out to me. And what I usually do is I'll take some of the books and the chapters that I've gone through, take the important words, create a Word doc, and I like to create a book archive. So that way, if I'm doing a podcast or if I'm working with a team, that way I can just do a quick Google search or I guess a case search, looking for the right words, different doctrine, different philosophy, so I can just scan through these books quickly. That's what's worked out well for me. So that's what I did with this book. And there's a couple things I wanted to touch on really quick. So first off the bat, In the prologue of this book, Jim Mattis talks about the two qualities he was taught to value most in selecting others for promotion or critical roles, and that was initiative and aggressiveness. Initiative and aggressiveness. Now, I had this example last week where I'm on a call with Coach Firth's team, and we're talking with his leaders, and one of his leaders said, "Hey, I got a guy who doesn't want to show up for workouts." Now, mind you, this is off season. At this time, we're empowering our leaders to do everything they possibly can to get all the players into the locker room or into the weight room rather. And they're getting hit with tons of different excuses. Everything from I'm playing a spring sport, so I don't want to impair my arm. I want to make sure that I'm gassed for the game later today. Even to the point that they're just flat out lazy. They're just, well, hey man, I don't want to get up at 6 a.m. And then you get some middle ground where it's, hey, my mom doesn't want to drive me out here.
Right.
Just anyway, excuse central, just one excuse after another. And so the leader comes to us and says, well, what am I supposed to do? If I got a guy coming to me and saying, or I'm going to him saying, hey, why are you not in the workout? And he's like, I can't get a ride. So our leader then says, well, hey, I'll give you a ride. Let me help you. I can drive you. Now, obviously, want to make sure all high school students out there, before you do this, make sure it's okay with coach. Make sure you're legally able to drive other student athletes to and from practice or to and from workouts, whatever the case may be. But in this case, the challenger, the player who's not showing up, basically just said, "Nah, it's okay, man. Don't worry about it." And he comes to us and is like, well, "What am I supposed to do at that point? Do I just let this slide? He just doesn't show up at this point?" And I came back because this made me think about this, being aggressive and taking initiative. So again, just top of my head, I was like, okay, here's what I would do. I would show up on his doorstep, drive right out front, park in front of his house, and call him, text him, knock on the door if you have to, even beep the horn if you have to. And basically the message is this. Here's the deal, man. You either get in the car right now so we can both be there to workouts on time, or we're both going to be late. I'm not leaving this house until you're in the car with me. It's basically putting it on them to say, look, your actions are going to hurt both our chances from being there. Okay? I'm not leaving without you. I've made the point. I've taken the initiative to come out here. And this aggressiveness is look, if you don't join me, we're both going to be late. So, your choice, man. But I'm going to wait here until you get in this car. What are your thoughts on that? And I'd love to hear, just this idea of just kind of taking the initiative, showing that aggressiveness, just as a leader. Does anything come to mind as well?
Yeah. Well, I think that's the most effective route to take. You know, for me, like if this situation happened when I was, at the tail end of my military career, well, it just wouldn't. So it's really hard to, like, we've had guys, especially, like, I've definitely worked with guys who were in leadership positions that just, like, were not meeting the standard, like the bare minimum, just being on time at 6 a.m. And that was really tough. Well, but it was random, but never happened consecutively. Like I've experienced it, I guess. But I think in high school, like, yeah, that's the most effective route. I would probably make him say, no, he's not going.
Okay.
That's where, what I mean? Like, I don't know if I would wait. I would probably make him say, I'm not going to workouts. You go without me. And then you have your answer for the dedication and the commitment he had. Because, like, you literally are on a silver platter rolling out the red carpet. I'm here. I'm beating my horn. The only thing you got to do is put on clothes and go. And I'm going to make you say you don't want to do it and you don't want to be here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It very similar to like what a lot of units do in the military. Like, you quit, you're gone.
Right.
So, like, you don't want to be here? Cool. We'll make that happen. You're the one
Yeah.
that said it, not me. I don't know if I'd hop into that right away. I'd probably do your method, like, come on, man, be late. You know, we're both late. You're going to affect us both. Um, but yeah, I mean that. But we talk about it on a lot of the past episodes. The hardest form of leadership is peer to peer.
Yeah.
So I think to start off, I would probably go about it that way. And then once he says, "I'm not doing it. I'm done. I don't want to be here," then you have your answer. And I'm not going to hand it. I'm not going to lend a helping hand anymore because you made your own bed.
Yeah. And then just going to coach and saying, look, here's what I've done. Here's what I've
Yeah,
done. I did the best that I possibly could. I had a conversation with him in the hall. He's still saying that he has these excuses. I showed up on his doorstep to give him the opportunity, and I'm just taking the initiative here, just doing everything I possibly can to carry out what I'm considering coach's intent. Military, they talk about the commander's intent. Coach's intent is I need everybody here so that we can grow better physically, mentally, stronger together as a team. We're getting that cohesion. We're forming that brotherhood. It starts right now at 6 a.m.s. I need everybody in there. So this guy's carrying out coach's intent. He's doing everything he possibly can. At the end of the day, guy doesn't want to get in. You can lead the horse to water. You can't force him to drink it. And then you go to coach and
exactly.
said, "Hey, here's what I did. Okay, laying out there. I gave him these opportunities. Now it's in your hands." And then that's where the coach needs to step in and make the decision. Is this guy fit for my team? Because I don't need anybody quitting when injuries start to happen. You know, we have a couple bad losses in a row, and all of a sudden morale's starting to sink down, and guys are, whether they physically quit yet, maybe they're mentally quitting. But that's the time where I need everybody. I need my troops. I need everybody who's bought in. I need everybody whose heart's in this thing. So
I think it too, and I don't know how it is in North Carolina. I don't know the state laws in terms of like athletics and off season programming. Um, but in Ohio, we were pay to play, but like if you didn't show up to weightlifting, like you weren't like we legally they couldn't cut you, but you weren't playing.
yeah,
You
it'll
know,
definitely be noted.
yeah, it'll be
Moving forward.
noted, and you're not gonna like show up when you feel like it. You're not gonna leave when you feel like it's just it kind of really waters down the team cohesion and the cohesiveness between everyone because everyone's the ones that do show up every day and that are committed. You're that's not fair to them.
That's
That
right.
you're just going to come in whenever you feel like and leave whenever you feel like. Like these guys are like committed to doing this, and you're just coming and going as you please. But I did a leadership reaction course at a D2 school last year that I was telling you about, and I know you were working, so you couldn't be there. It was about 3 hours away. Um, and there was a guy at a huge, like he was from a Power Five school, but like SEC, like big time. And apparently he got cut because he was late twice. They were like, "Yeah, you're done. Like we don't care." Like severely late. And he actually showed up late to the LRC. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like he like that's how I took it. Like why did you get cut? Why did you leave? And it just I should fact check that. I shouldn't because I he was late to the LRC. Maybe I'm confusing. But I had asked him like what happens when you're late to these schools? He's like, "You're done." And I'm like, "So what makes it different here?" Like you're trying to go back to these schools that are going to get you paid, get you a look to get drafted, and you can't even make it on time. So I think it's just, again, we talk about all the time, the trickle down effect where it's happening in high school now.
Yeah,
Like if you can't perfect this and dedicate yourself at the lowest level possible, what makes you think you're going to be able to perfect this? The closest thing to military training is Division I athletics.
that's right. That's right.
It's
Have we not learned anything yet?
yeah, yeah,
You know.
like you don't have the ability to turn it on and off. Very few human beings do, and I believe that includes at the professional level as well.
That's right. Yeah, there was this attorney I used to work with a few years back. He was a defense attorney and very good defense attorney. But one of the things he always used to tell me is like, it takes years to earn a good reputation, and that respect. and that trust, but merely seconds to lose it. You have one lapse of judgment. You lie. You're late. And this jeopardizes your client or the case, whatever the case may be. It's just kind of goes into that notion that Admiral McRaven talks all the time about. Jim Mattis talks about in this book. It's just your reputation is everything, and being a good leader, it's a 24/7 gig, and you cannot have a lapse in judgment. You got to do everything you possibly can. Now you are human. We understand that, but if it is consistently happening, time and time again, this is not. There is no excuse that covers that up. That is a character problem, and that you just got to look in the mirror. That is all you. There are no excuses to trump that.
Yeah.
That is.
You know, and that goes in. I mean, that's in school. It's in sports. It's in business. That is a people are human. You're going to make mistakes, and you might make mistakes every single day. Like, and I think that that's fine. But if you're like making the same exact mistake over and over and over again, it's not a lapse of judgment anymore. I think it's just a character flaw. And
Yeah, that's a great point.
I think that at some point in your life, you just stop being held accountable. So you get away with it
Yeah,
through using techniques that you know how to get away with it with. So,
yeah. And last thing I'll make to this, we'll get back to the book, but accountability. When we talk about this with high school student athletes, one of the things that we talk about is accountability isn't just saying, I'm sorry. Hey, that's on me, my bad. I'll make sure it doesn't happen again. The most important thing is that it doesn't happen again. Like that's the key. Because if nobody wants to work for a leader that's messing up all the time and he's saying he's sorry, he can come back and say, "Hey, well, I took ownership of it." Yeah, but it still continues to happen. The taking ownership of it is ensuring, putting in the right mechanisms to making sure that it doesn't ever happen again. That's the key. That's the key to ownership. That's the
yeah,
key to accountability. And if you're talking about a subordinate, somebody who is reporting to you, it's what are you doing to making sure that that doesn't happen again, making sure they don't mess up again. So that means the extra coaching, extra teaching, whatever it is. Because as a leader, that's on you. Their poor performance reflects on you. So what are you doing, taking the steps to making sure that you're helping them correct? Hey, my job as a leader is to correct you. So this is what we're going to do, and I'm going to work with you, and we're going to make sure this doesn't happen again. So. Just okay. So back to the book here for a second. Jim Mattis's family believed in books over television. That is interesting, especially this day and age where we have the tablets, we have YouTube, YouTube for kids. My goodness, the wild, wild west. His family taught him that the world is not to be feared but explored. And I got to tell you, I took this one to heart too, because I can't tell you how many times. And you're a dad, right? You go out to eat and you're like, okay, you know what? Me and my wife just want some peace and quiet for 30 minutes. Like,
dude,
can we just get
you hand the phone over immediately.
I hand the phone over? Right.
Like,
And, but that's a slippery slope because at the same time, it's like, okay, that was nice. Now it's a Saturday afternoon, and you just want to kick back because they've been busting you all day,
all day.
busting you all week. Work's been busting you all week, and you just want to sit down and watch the game. So you give them the phone, And so this is, again, now if we're talking about discipline and stuff like that, it's choosing comfort over what the
Yeah.
right thing to do is, right? Like it's choosing comfort. It's really a selfish demon. But I heard this podcast. It was Chris Hemsworth, Thor himself, and one of the things that he talks about a lot is that when he was growing up, his family was very. It doesn't mean that there was an absence of television, but they really demonstrated the love of books. Like they were like, I don't ever want my kids thinking that books are this. Oh, it's going to be a task. It's going to be a chore and stuff like that. So one of the things they would do is after dinner for 30 minutes. It wasn't not that long. His father would just get them all in the living room, turn a fire on, and they pull out like Lord of the Rings and just various different novels, and he would just read to them. Or when they got old enough, they would read for the families. They would take turns, and it became this thing that they looked forward to. And I've started trying to do this now. Granted, it's probably been a couple weeks, but I was trying to do this on a routine basis, and the kids really loved it. Now, one of the things I found is that you still have to play to your audience. If this material is getting dense, you got to make it funny. I threw some funny stuff in there just to keep
Yeah.
their interest going.
Right.
But nonetheless, it's showing them that hey, reading's actually fun. It
Hmm.
doesn't have to be such a suck all the time. Like it's and so I just love when Mattis was talking about that. And I don't think everybody needs to go full hardcore. I don't think everybody has the stamina or the strength to say no televisions whatsoever in the house, just only books. Hey, but if that is you, you're killing it because
Dude, we
that's insane.
we did that this we did that this week. It
Okay, explain.
Yeah, man, like on all level. Well, first, we always implemented books in our son's life from day one to to where he's at now. Like we read about 3 or 4 books a night. Obviously, it's targeted to the audience, right? Like you said. So whether that's like Dr. Seuss, some good. We started out Good Night Moon. um, I mean, his room probably has about 300. He has a bookshelf in his room, and we just go down the line. Now he likes certain books, but like we might read the same one. Like right now, we're on Go Dog Go,
Okay. Yep.
dude. Oh man, like it's tough. That one's tough because I'm like I just don't understand. But he loves it, man. So I'll do it for him. Um, when he was really young, I wanted, I read Astrophysics for People in a Hurry. Like I was reading that on leave, and I just started reading. Like he was young, I'd hold him, and I would just start reading it out loud. It was by Neil deGrasse Tyson to kind of break down like a watered down version of someone that knows nothing about space and astrophysics. Like, hey, do you want to understand this? I really did. I watched Interstellar, read the book, then rewatched Interstellar. I was like, whoa, okay. That was like a little study I did. Um, so we do implement that, and it's really good. And I think it's huge for his progression. He loves reading, and he'll sit like Saturday morning. He got up, went downstairs, and pulled out all of his books, and he was just going through them. Um, Television, we fell off the deep end for a little bit, man. Because you said like you want 30 minutes, the game's on, you need to do chores around the house, and hang. Our son's 3 right now, so he's in it ebbs and flows daily. One day it's yes, next day is why, other day is like this morning was no, I'm not doing it, I'm not going to school, I don't care. And a very easy way to kind of disassociate and get stuff done is just putting on like Paw Patrol. Dude, it got bad. And both my wife and I were like, nah, we're not doing this anymore. So like last week and all the way up, we're like, we'll give him television Sunday afternoon for an hour or two. But up until then, like we're not doing this anymore. Like we have to get back to the no TV. We're going to go outside and play. Like he's on the way home from school right now because his school shut down because of incoming tornado. And I'm like, all right, dude,
I
like,
can hear the rain
yeah.
on your side. We haven't. We just had it. We're having a quick little break right now.
I'm like, dude, we're not watching TV. Like I just got done from the gym. I'm like, I want to shower. I got an interview at 3 o'clock, but like, looks like we're going out in the rain. We're getting wet. I got my board shorts on because I was sitting in the cold plunge. Like that's what we're doing until I got to get on this interview, and then
Oh,
cap that off after an hour, and then we'll finish out the day doing something.
I
But
love
like
it.
it really is bad for like it is bad.
And you notice it with their attitudes. I mean, I've
Oh,
noticed
dude,
that that
like
is a big thing. It's just they all of a sudden, where is this attitude coming from? And then they break down and just
dude,
yeah. I think just like with everything, it's a balance, man. It's you need to
yeah.
have a healthy balance. Figure out what works best for your family. So,
It
um,
it's really I love that we're talking about this book and General Mattis's outlook on it because when I started implementing leadership books into my life when I was in the military, what I significantly started to progress in just professionalism, decision making within my career. But I also started to see like huge gaps. And you can tell when someone doesn't educate themselves and they're in a leadership position. And Army recruiting really exposed that. Um, because in Army recruiting, it is very, what can you do for me? I don't care what I can do for you. It's as gritty of a sales job as you can do. Like, what can you do for me from a leadership perspective? Like, you need to hit your numbers. I don't care about anything else. You will hit your numbers. And a book that I read that really brought that to light was Seven Traits of a Highly Effective Person.
Okay.
I'm actually rereading
I
it.
got that on my
Right
shelf.
there.
I
Yeah.
haven't read it yet, but I have it right over here. Yep.
So it's like I should open it up because I'm rereading this section, but it's production versus production output or something like that. Um, and it's there's like a folk tale about the farmer and the golden egg, and basically the farmer's poor, his geese or animal lays a golden egg, and he trades it in for money, and that's his production. Every day he has a golden egg. When one day he wanted more at once. He's like, I want all the golden eggs because I need this. I don't want to wait. I don't want to save my golden eggs. So we cut the animal open, thinking that a bunch of golden eggs would fall out, and nothing fell out, and then his production was dead. Like, if you are a leader and you come across this podcast and you're in any form of like recruiting, sales, marketing, whatever you do, your production, like quality, and people who are consistently producing for you, don't kill them.
Yeah.
Because when those people leave, when you just pressure, I don't care what you are doing. I don't care what you have on. What can you do for me? That's the outcome. And it's the outcome 10 out of 10 times. You cannot debate it. And because I've seen it, it happened with me personally. I was like, I'm done with this, dude. I give up.
Yeah.
And I didn't fully give up because it's just out of character. But like, there were times I was driving home. I'm like, dude, what am I doing? But it's all because I started implementing reading. I was educating myself. And I'm like, I started really seeing gaps in leadership. More so, it's because I was in recruiting, and that's when I started doing this. But I'm sure if I was in the 82nd where I was at before, like I could see those gaps as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny that it's interesting just the decision to provide a reading list to your young leaders. It's like this needs to be done before our first meeting. Like or I
Yeah.
think it was probably like a course of the year, but that was the expectation. So automatically you're like, okay, okay, this is a little intense, but it's like I think it's part of hey, he wants to see who he's leading. He wants to see how much does this mean to them. By the way, the reading is probably spot on to some of the encounters that they're going to have throughout that year. And mind you, this book is not just about how much of a reader he was in childhood. There's a ton of leadership content in this book. I'm not even going to touch 10% of this, but let's go on. And there are a few other things I wanted to hit on. You have to be as tough as your troops. This was interesting. If you want your troops to follow you, you have to be as tough as the toughest men or toughest women. And my question is this. He says they will follow you as long as you're as tough as the toughest men. Why is that? Why do you think that is?
Well, I think it comes back to you. Everyone's on an equal playing field. I think that's from my point of view. Like, I know if I'm following someone, if I'm as, tough as the example, but if I'm as dedicated, if I'm as involved, if I'm as committed as my leader is, then the mission's going to go extremely smooth. And I always relate it back to my time in Army recruiting because that was the biggest time I had to really develop myself as a follower and as a subordinate. I was lucky because every single station commander I had was for the most part really solid. But I had one who he cared, man. And it was almost refreshing because I'm like, dude, this guy cares so much about what he's doing. Like, you don't really see this as much anymore. And I was like, and I told myself and I told him, I'm like, you know what, dude, I got to meet this guy halfway. I got to give a shit as much as he gives a shit, or at least fake it. And I think that I'll be successful. And the moment I did that, success just started flowing in,
Yeah.
because I had,
And that's him leading you. That's
Yeah.
what it is. That's
Yeah.
exactly there. That's he's leading, and
And
just
and it,
by
yeah, and
showing
it,
how much he cares about his job
yep.
and,
And
and
it
the
and it
and the
goes
work.
back. It goes back to the production versus production output of like, okay, we had a guy who, if you hit a certain quota, you had off every Friday, right? And then all of a sudden, going into quarter four, that was stripped from everyone because all of a sudden people were like, "Oh, I have something to chase. Like, I want to have a 3 day weekend every single week." And then the station commanders, which were like five or six of them, like, well, no, and they worded it again. I wouldn't realize this if I wasn't like reading, staying on top of things, but the way they worded it was it was fascinating. Like it was very good on the stage commander's part. Their concern was, well, you're giving highly our most productive recruiters 20% of the week off. And I was like, you made that sound as bad as you could when you said that. Like, because we're not doing anything on Fridays. Everyone knows that. The Army does, you know, and because of that, they're like, well, we're going to withdraw the incentive program. And because of where we were at as a station, our station commander was like, no, we're not. I will honor it. If I call you on a Friday, just please respect me enough to answer the phone. But I will honor this. And after he did that, I had immense amount of respect for him because I'm like, okay, like, but it works. Like you said, like what we're talking about, it really does. Like it, you have to either meet your leader halfway or you got to meet him fully, and you have to be, and that's what that talks about, being as tough as the toughest guy. Like it shows that everyone is devoted and everyone has the capability of overcoming any challenge that's put in front of you.
Absolutely, absolutely, and caring. General Mattis has his three C's: competence, caring, and conviction. Okay, so let's talk about caring just for as an example here. So he quotes Teddy Roosevelt: "Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care," which is that's some deep thinking right there. Nobody cares how much you know; they just want to know how into this thing are you, how bought in are you? Because at the end of the day, you know it when somebody's bought in to what we're doing. If you give a damn about the work, you're going to lead. Like if you want to just boil leadership down to just one thing, it's like I care about your work. Okay, and that's just one of the many things you need to do as a leader. But if your subordinates know how much this work means to you, you're going to lead no matter what, because it's like when you see somebody so passionate about something, a project, a nonprofit, or a mission that's really important to them. It's like, oh shoot, man, I'd love to be able to help you. How can I help you with that? You can't help it. Your human instincts take over, and you're like, I want to support them on this. Then maybe I'm overlooking something to see how dedicated he is to his work. Then it's going to make me want to work harder to impress them and to carry out the mission. And versus the other side, it's like if you don't care, it's a stinky cologne. Everybody's going to know. Everybody knows that you don't care about this. So what am I even going to be going the extra mile for if I know that you don't care about this? Caring is also, if you're interested, showing that you're interested in your subordinates, how they grow, how they learn, and who they want to be. That's that extra little. So it's a caring about the work, but it's also caring about your subordinates as well.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I think too, one thing that might be, I think a lot of people just overlook is caring also too. Like I always cared about how much, and this sounds, when I got older, when I was getting ready to leave Fort Bragg, I always cared, how can I give back to the guys in my squad? That was very important to me because if it's like, again, like if I'm only asking from them and I'm not willing to give back, like they're like, okay, like the oil in the machine, like the machine's just going to stop working
That's
because
right.
they're receiving nothing in return. And there was so many policies, and that I'm like, dude, this doesn't make any sense. But there was policies, like they were there when we wanted them to be there. Like, oh, you need to 7 days prior before you submit a 4-day. I'm like, that's, dude, the policy letter. I think we talked about this before. The policy letter doesn't exist. Show me it.
Yeah.
And they printed out
Yeah.
one the day of. Like, so, but willing to go the extra bat. Because, like, dude, I have these guys in 105 degrees heat that, at the time they were pulling every single detail because how it was, we were on what's called like the 7 or something like that, like where you're doing every detail division asks you to do. And it was, I mean, we were just getting thrown around. Like, I didn't have a squad for like 4 months. It was 16 weeks. And, I was running a range every single week. It was called the enduring range where anyone can go. We have ammo, you sign for it. And like these guys, I would also run them for like VIPs. So like NASCAR, the Carolina Panthers, the Sergeant Major of the Army, 18th Airborne Corps Sergeant Major. Well, okay, I need my squad to demonstrate because I'm the RSO and I can't shoot. So I have to like, I'm briefing safety and procedures, and this is what we're doing here. Like, I have to back brief this range to these individuals. Well, yeah, I'm going to pull from my own squad. So they're doing this while everyone else is trying to catch their breath from whatever else they're doing. So how do I repay? Like, hey man, we got to pull these guys off. Like they need a break, right? Like I want to give my guys a break because they've been doing this with me for 2 months now. So I think that like if they want to take a 4-day weekend, like we can do that. There's nothing wrong with it. So willing to go that extra bat. Some people might call me soft and like a Joe hugger, they call it. Like, oh man, like, you just love your privates. Like, well, yeah, dude, because every guy I had worked extremely hard for me.
Yeah.
I didn't have to
Yeah.
ask them twice to do anything,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely, man. And if there's a guy that wants to, he's got his eyes set on advancing, going into another division, that, then it's like that extra level of care. It's like, yes, you would love to have him on your team. He wants to go and do bigger, better things for him, and looking out for him to be able to do that. It's like, hold on, I'll tell you what. Here's what I need you to do. I need you to do this project, and if you can get this project done for me, I'm going to go to bat for you. I'm going to try to get you in that division that you want to get into. It's just something that, in my job right now, it's like there's plenty of times where I go to my manager, and she always asks me, she's like, what else can I do for you? Is there something? And I put up my hand and said, I'd love to help out with sales training. I think that's something that's a need for us. I'm pretty good at that. I feel like I'm pretty decent at speaking. I like teaching. And she's like, you got it. Say less. Bam, made it happen. It's just that she didn't have to do that, but and it's not even a part of her job description, but it's, I know what's important to you, and you mean a lot to me, so I'm gonna do whatever I possibly can to look out for you. Big brother, big sister,
Yeah.
just,
Like,
and because those things go a long way, and now you have a fan or a follower for life. Like, hey, she has my ultimate respect because she did this, this, and this. She went to bat when she didn't have to, but you're just showing that you care about your subordinates.
yeah. And there's just,
Um,
there's some things too. I do have to put it like, there's some things that you just can't.
right,
And
right.
that's a very
Within
like,
your limits, within
yeah.
the parameters, and
But,
but if there's an opportunity for you that you can do that, and again, it's up
and
for every leader to explore that, is to
for
explore
sure.
the parameters. And maybe there's some times where you need to overstep it just a little bit. And I don't have a good example for you on that one, but just, hey, maybe the situation calls for it. Maybe there's an exceptional individual and you want to do a huge solid for them. But I think, yeah, I agree for the most part. It's if you have the opportunity and the ability to do that, you should be doing that for your subordinates, because then they're going to go to work for you, and they'll go to, and you ask them to do these really hard tasks. They're not going to push back. They can say, hey, I know it because I know that's in line with your mission. I know that's in line with our overall company's mission. And here we go. Um, let's just hit these last two C's, and I think I may all we have time for today. Competence. General Mattis says, don't dabble in your job, master it. Analyze yourself, identify weaknesses, and improve yourself. Leaders must provide clear orders and relentless rehearsals hundreds of times. Read history, but study a few case studies in depth. So it's what he's getting at here is a leader's competence is everything. So you have to be a master. He says being a master at your job. And why is that important? Well, it's because your subordinates are going to have questions. They're not going to know everything, but you are expected to know those things. And
Yeah.
if you don't know it,
Yeah.
hey, I don't know. But let me find out for you. I'll
I
get
had
back to you as
a,
quickly as I can.
I had a squad leader in the 82nd when I first got there from Fort Hood because I was very behind the curve. And he told me like team leaders like having a bachelor's degree, a squad leader's having a master's degree, a platoon sergeant's having a PhD in it. Like, you know, team leader, you got to be able to find it. Squad leader, you should know it, but still have the ability to find it. Platoon sergeant, there's not even a question. You know it right off the rip. And I think that's, especially in the infantry or combat arms world. I mean, really any squad or any team within, military, business, athletics. I think that the most effective units and teams have that. They have that structure and you see that. And obviously it's better if like everyone just knows everything, right? Like that's what you strive
Right.
for.
Right.
Um, but I think when you're building a squad or building a team in any organization, that's the key. You got to have people in the right place that have the right motivation and the correct amount of knowledge, and they got to be able to kind of disseminate that knowledge and spread the wealth across the team. And that's why you look at like on a football team, like who's the most effective player. Like a quarterback knows everything. Like a great quarterback,
Yeah.
and I don't think because people say that all the time because there's other positions too that know everything. But I truly believe when you watch a high level quarterback, he knows who every single offensive lineman is supposed to block. He knows
Exactly.
every single route. I
Exactly.
mean, and then you look at like the NFL where some of these play calls, I'm like, dude, that's 2 paragraphs. Like, I
I
can't
know
memorize
how they
that,
do
man.
that.
There's a clip of who's the he's a coach. I'm going blank. John Gruden.
Okay.
There's a clip of him when he was at Tampa Bay, and this quarterback.
Fly banana or something
Oh,
like that.
dude,
Yeah.
like that is like if that is not the definition of like,
Yeah.
and for him, it's like, how do you not know this? But for everyone watching, you're like, holy shit! Like I
And
wouldn't be
you
able to
have
do that.
and there, that's a great example of somebody who cares so much
Oh,
about his
dude, just
craft.
unbelievably passionate about it. He
Right.
still is. I was kind of hoping. I really thought for a little bit he was going to get hired on somewhere to coach at the college
He's a
level.
little bit of a loose cannon, I
Dude,
think, which is why
like,
I'm so glad he's more in the entertainment realm of things
yeah, yeah,
with
yeah,
Barstool.
yeah.
But yeah, but and it just goes to show. And here's just a good way to kind of connect the two. It's in order to be able to be confident and the right amount of confidence, I think you have to care a lot about your craft. Like I
Oh,
think
dude,
because
yeah.
if you hate your job and you can't stand it, you don't care about your job, it's I would say damn near impossible for you to become a master in it because in order to have the mastery, you gotta love it what you're doing.
Yeah, and that so true, man. Like, so that's kind of a hurdle that conventional army, because I can only speak conventional because I was in the 82nd. Like, we're conventional, we weren't special operations, not even close. But the conventional army, in my opinion, that's a struggle that we have to overcome in order for us to be very effective because we this person needs to be on this detail, this person needs to be on the gate guard, and because of that these guys lose a lot of motivation. And as an NCO or a leader, it's your job to instill motivation and discipline, and but they lose a lot of motivation, so that little time we have to go out to the field and to train, get quality training in so they can become masters at the craft, or become more and more and more proficient at it. They don't even want to be there because they're like, oh well, tomorrow I got to go sit on the gate. And instead, like, maybe we prioritize the training, the training calendar, and we focus. Like, I had the best first sergeant I ever had. It was COVID-19, and I thought I had to test for it. I didn't have to quarantine for some reason. I thought that, but I was like, I feel fine. Like, I don't need to test. This person had COVID. He talked to me. Like, it's fine. And he looked, and I'm not going to say his name because, he looked at me and pulls me into his office. He's like, dude, you need this training cycle. like you need this. Like I know we just got back from deployment. Like you have not had an 80-second training cycle yet. You need this. And I just remember being like, dude, he's right. And like looking back, it was the most effective training cycle I ever had. He just knew I was like behind the curve still a little bit. He knew like I was getting put into positions because my squad leader was at a leadership course, so I was taking a squad. He's like, this is very important for you to develop, and you need to like. I really hope that we can get you out here, and that stuck with me for a while. And because I look back and I'm like, one, the unit like after I was like so happy I did it because it was a fucking brutal. Excuse my French. It was, I look back, I'm like, that was a gauntlet of
Yeah.
a training cycle.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, we got back from leave, and it was like the day we got back from leave, we reported Sunday back, signed in 3:30. The arms room was open the next day to ruck out 11 miles to a range and to zero our weapons. Like that was day one back.
11 miles.
Dude, oh yeah, it
Well,
was like
this
out the
is not
gate and
like
shit.
right down the
Yeah,
road.
dude, no, it was far. 11. It
It's
might
in
have
the
been.
next town over.
Yeah, it might
We'll
have been
meet you
eight
over
or
there.
nine. 11 might, but it was tough, man. Like, it was 100 degrees and like, but it was just again, like I
Jeez.
said, man. It was the most important. It was the most important training cycle I ever had.
Well, let me wrap this up with our like I talked about the three C's. Let's hit the last C, and then we'll close this down. Last C is conviction. Okay, so making sure that your peers are the first to know that you will stand for, and more important, they're first to know what you will stand for, and more important, what you won't stand for. Make sure your rules are flat and upfront. You stick to them no matter what. As an officer, you need to win only one battle for the hearts of your troops. Win their hearts, and they will win the fights. Win their hearts, and they will win the fights. Leadership means reaching the souls of your troops, instilling a sense of commitment and purpose in the face of challenges. And really, I think that there's a couple things you're hitting on this, but just to kind of summarize here, I think there's really what I think is most important is just like being a parent, not to bring it back full circle here, okay? It's having a clear set of rules and making sure those rules stay consistent. And no matter what happens, there is no bending of the rules. This is the rule. You break it, there's going to be a punishment. And that's the same thing that goes in the corporate context. Now, punishment may be a little bit different from when you're being a parent versus when you have your actual professional subordinates, whatever the case may be. But making sure that your rules are clearly articulated out front. You're clearly setting expectations early and often. This is what I tolerate. This is what I don't tolerate. This is our mission. Here are the parameters. You can go as far left, you can go as far right. But here's the job I need to have done, and here's the rules that I abide by and that our unit's going to abide by. And what I love by this last section here, when he says, you need to win only one battle, the hearts of your troops. Now, I can firmly say that if you are a leader that cares and you're competent in what it is that you do, you're going to win their hearts because you're a master at your craft. Okay, you're one of the toughest out there. You're up there along with everybody else, but people can come to you and they can rely on your information. They know you're a wealth of information. If they can go to you to answer questions, or if you don't know it, they know you're human. You're going to find out and get it back to them as quickly as you possibly can. So you're a master of what you do. You're consistent. You care about the mission. And at the end of the day, you're going the extra mile to earn their hearts, which means spending a little bit of time after outside hours to help coach them up or teach them. You're checking in with them. You're showing that empathy at times when it's needed. Hey, you're a human being. Okay, they mess up. Hey, no problem. Let's do this together so that we can get the objective done. Okay, and I'm going to stay after to make sure that we get this done right, and so that you know what's going on, so that you have a better feel for next time it comes up. You know how to handle it, how to better handle it. So it's these things these three C's. I think it's a great way to kind of take a very broad topic that is leadership and condense it down to three things. So, any closing thoughts on that?
No, I think that was fantastic. I mean, you articulated that, perfectly. Um,
Well, I'll tell you what, Jim Mattis articulated it perfectly.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I wish I could take any credit for this, and I am just the narrator here. But Um, this book will make its head. It'll make an appearance again soon. Call sign Chaos. Now, no spoiler alert here or anything like that, but one of the reasons why they called him call sign, his call sign was Chaos, is that, and this is going to be something where we go to get into more of the NFL season. It is a think about your defense as we want to create chaos. And why is that? Because when you have chaos, you have mass confusion. You have the fog of war. You can bring that on the enemy. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to have to rely on the discipline that they may or may not have. It's just creating chaos is a good thing from being on the offensive. So, and just some things to be thinking about. We'll dive into that more as we go on, but I think that's enough for today.
Yeah, right on.